Mr. Perry's kind of tall. I gotta bring this thing down. Good morning. Well, I see a lot of familiar faces. I see a lot of faces I don't know. But, when I look around this room, most of all, I see family, and I see home. I thought about all the things I'd say coming here when they asked me to do this. What am I going to stand up there and say to a bunch of teachers? Like, I'm not a teacher, they teach me. So I had no idea what I was going to tell you guys. But, so I thought about just kind of reflecting on my career here, growing up, running the streets of Springdale, going to school with all my teammates, or with all my classmates, playing ball with all my teammates, and just some of the things that I learned. And as I reflect, I think about just coming up here. When I got here to Springdale, let's be honest, I think I was the only African-American kid in the whole city. I really don't think I knew. There was one other family that I knew that looked like me. And it was different. My family came from Louisiana. Obviously there's a higher population of African Americans there than there were in Springdale at the time in the 90s. And I remember going to my elementary school. I went to Walker Elementary. I was a Walker Wildcat. That was the best elementary here, when I was here. And I remember just getting to school and all these teachers telling me, hey, we're so happy to have you here, and you're such a bright young individual and all these things. And I remember getting to the 4th grade and thinking, like, wow, people really love me here. Like, why do they like me so much? Like, what did I do? And I had a teacher come. Her name was Miss Blythe, and Miss Blythe isn't with us today, but I remember Miss Blythe telling me about how I was different, and the reason that a lot of these people liked me was because I carried my difference without anything on my shoulders. I carried my difference without asking for any assistance. I carried my difference without thinking that, that there was something wrong with it. And I think that was something that I learned from Miss Blythe. Now Miss Blythe was like, if any of y'all knew her, she was the loudest person. Like, for sure the loudest person I've ever met in my life. And my mom's been yelling at me for 28 years, so. And she had this blonde, like bleached blonde hair. It was always big, poofy, like, just, it was actually one of the craziest things I ever saw. But she, but she was the nicest person. And, she used to just always tell me, she's like, hey, I'm different. Like, most people in this school probably don't like me. I yell a lot, I talk loud, and all this stuff. But she used to tell me, that it's okay to be different. And that was one thing that I carried with me for the rest of my life, because in every aspect of my life, I've dared to be different. I wanted to be somebody that people saw, he's not like everybody else. And fortunately, all the stereotypes that come with my job or my profession, I'm fortunate that I wasn't like everybody else. But I learned that here. I moved on from Walker. I went to Helen Tyson Middle School. And I was in the pause and the pros. And my middle school was at the time, it was the popular middle school. It was the middle school where all the cool kids went. I'm not for sure if I was one of them or not, but at the time, so all the cool kids went there. And there was a lot of popularity issues, and that was something that, I kind of struggled with, because I didn't understand the cliques and how people, gathered the cliques. I just wanted to be friends with everybody. And I think that, when I was there, I learned how to separate yourself. I had a teacher, Miss Judy Ehrman, and she taught me the importance of studying. Now, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was a really ornery kid, but I was the kid that, if I knew I was gonna do really good on a test, I wasn't gonna study, because for what? I didn't understand that you still needed to polish up on stuff and make sure that you knew what you were doing. So I just wouldn't do it. And I remember getting to 6th grade, and Miss Ehrman's tests were so hard. And I didn't understand why they were so much harder than in 5th grade. Like they just, not necessarily that the time passed and you're getting older and you have to learn more, but at where I was, I just thought that all tests continued to be the same. And she really taught me how to study, like the importance of studying, and not necessarily just for school, but for life. You know, you have to be able to study your opponents in football. In life, you have to be able to study your opponents. You know, I just retired from 6 years in the NFL, and I'm trying to start a new business venture, and I know nothing about it. And so I've been studying for tests, and I never thought I'd go back to school and have to study again. I've been studying for tests and on all these exams, and I think back to that time when I was in 6th grade when, you know, Miss Ehrman, I used to think she just really liked me, but she used to keep me after class all the time and like make me do extra math problems and whatnot. She was my homeroom teacher, and I really did. I thought we were just good friends, but obviously I needed a little bit of extra work. So, you know, I really learned the importance of school then, and little did I know that later on it would be even more important, you know, trying to get into colleges and as to what coaches were looking for when they'd come to these schools. You know, one thing that I was very fortunate coming to school, I remember I'd be walking through the halls and there'd be coaches in the coach's office and whatnot, and I'd get called in there and like, hey, you know, this coach came to see you, this coach came to see you. And one thing that that every coach said to Coach Malzahn every single time was how bright I was as a student, and that they were so impressed with me as a student. Well, that didn't come from just me. That came from all the people sitting in this room. That came from this community. That came from Dr. Rollins and his position, and just putting everybody in a position to have this opportunity to learn and to make something of themselves. So I'm forever grateful for that, Dr. Rollins, and to everybody in this room. I thank you guys for what you do. I got to Central Junior High. I was a Central Warrior, okay? And so Central's when I really learned about who I was as a person, because now there's no more kind of skating by. Now there's no more, you know, you don't have to study, you'll be all right. Like, junior high was really hard for me. And I had one particular teacher that made it especially hard for me. And to this day, she's one of my favorite people, Miss Stacy Johnson-Perry. She's the one that taught me determination and the importance of your character. Because I was always a good student and I was always a good athlete, but if you don't have good character to go with those, it's not gonna take you very far. And like I said, I was an ornery kid, so my character wasn't that great at the time. You know, I was a good kid, but I was a kid that pushed it to the maximum. Like, I wasn't gonna get in trouble, but you were gonna wanna put me in trouble. So I remember getting to junior high, and there was our football team wasn't very good. And this is when I realized that, like, you know, football might not be forever, because we were really bad, actually. And I think Bartley was on that team. And I think we were the only two people on the team that, like, for a while that understood, like, the winning part of football. I was on, I played Kiwanis, and Bartley and I were on the same team a couple years, and we always won. So when we got to, and you know, growing up in the youth league and whatnot, we won all the time. We got to Central, and it was a very humbling experience. But what I learned was that, you know, you don't always have to be the popular one. You don't always have to be the class clown. You don't always have to be the guy that gets the attention, and that you could probably get it elsewhere. You know, getting good grades, getting that notoriety, doing what you're supposed to do on the field. And I remember being in junior high learning the importance of multitasking and how important it is to schedule out your day. You know, having practice. I played every sport, so having a practice after school and then going to classes, and then, you know, obviously our junior high is 9th grade, so it's actually high school. So just getting that curriculum and learning how to balance between sports and school, and, you know, I'm just really blessed. You know, a lot of people don't get this opportunity. You know, the opportunity presents itself to be a good athlete, or the opportunity presents itself to be a good student, but to have people that in a community that support both is very rare. And I know here y'all don't know that because we live here and that's who we are. It's sports, it's family, it's faith, it's education, like that's who we are. That's what we're built upon in the city of Springdale. But elsewhere, it's not like that. It's really not. And I've met so many people along the way, and I'm just like, how did people let you become like this? Like, how did you slide this far? And it's just because I realized that they didn't have that strong of a support system. And I'm just so elated to be here, to be a product of this school system, all the opportunities afforded me. You know, I don't know if y'all know this, but people know who we are. And I think there was a couple of football teams that might have helped with that too, and a couple of corporations around here. But people know about Springdale, Arkansas. And it's really cool for me to go places. I've traveled the world. I've been to a lot of places. And it's really cool for me to be able to stand there and tell people that not only do I know about Springdale, but I'm from here. And I'm a product of here. And this is a place where people need to see. People need to see how these teachers work. People need to see how our community works, because this is the cornerstone for what I think is the way you do things. And, you know, I once heard, actually, my girlfriend told me this. I once heard, she told me this, that the best teachers are those who show you where to look and not tell you where to see. And I think that this room's full of people like that. And like I said, I'm just extremely blessed to be a part of it. I'm glad to be from here, and thank you guys for having me.